Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Gardner, and I am going to talk to you today about growing literacy in your classroom using one of my 4 strategies that I developed for our class. But first, I would like to discuss with you the 4 strategies that I came up with or took from our reading or, whatnot. So, the one I will be discussing today is the Jigsaw Roundtable. So we'll get into that in detail. The close reading and aspect of mathematics, I feel, is helpful when we want to make these theorems and formulas and procedures understandable for students. So, like in the beginning of a unit, I would have students in small groups meet up, read the theorems, talk amongst themselves, kind of come up with an understanding and put it into their own words and then share it out with the class before they've even had any real interaction with the material. The next one would be a math journal, using the vocabulary creatively. So in mathematics, there is a lot of vocabulary that we use on a daily basis, and it is very, very important for students to understand exactly what the vocabulary means. So I was thinking, how could I get them to interact with the vocabulary in a creative way? So I was thinking like free writes, short stories, music, poetry, anything, comic strips, anything that utilizes the vocabulary in a correct way that still gives them the ability to be creative, and not necessarily all strict math related, can be very unique and fun. I think it would be entertaining. And then the last one is the build a word problem workshop. You all were kind of introduced when Gage and I did our lesson presentation in Susan's class with the Mad Lib creation of word problems and then the framework for solving them that we kind of gave you. That's something that I want to introduce, adding creativity and to developing word problems and then a framework for understanding them. But the one I'm focused on is the Jigsaw Roundtable. So here is a little overview, looking at each one individually. Um, but first, to understand, there are 3 things required for productive group work. We're all aware. The discussions require some sort of debate, not just an aspect of sharing information. Groups task is to resolve a problem or reach a understanding or identify a solution or a method to strategy to a solution. And then finally, it provides individual as well as group accountability in a situation so that you also have to be individually accountable and then accountable in a group setting. First off, the roundtable. We all read about this, but just to break it down, if you do not quite remember, each student meets up in a group that is their discussion group, and they take on or assume a role or responsibility for a specific different criteria. So this could be explaining the vocabulary, the procedure, drawing visuals, estimating a solution, or looking for or checking a method to that solution. All things that we're going to be using in our mashup, but it's no longer going to be the individual roles. This is going to be a group activity. Those roles are going to be separate, and we'll talk about that when we get into the actual mashup. But this ends and culminates in an individual responsibility activity that takes what they discussed about and puts it on paper to solve the problem that they will be given. So the jigsaw consists of 2 groups, the home group and the expert group. The home group in the mashup will be the roundtable group, and then the expert group will still be the expert group. So the home group, again, divides tasks amongst themselves, reads the text, identifies important elements and aspects, and kind of divvies them up, and who's going to tackle what. They break out into expert groups. They find everything there's needed in the text, take notes, discuss the ideas with each other, become the expert on a specific topic, take it back to the home group, discuss it, and kind of use it to develop strategies in a different way. So this is the framework that we're going to be using uh, along with the the roundtable. So together, how do they support each other? So both of them involve like a division of labor. So each one has their roles. So they work well in overlap. I can make my own roles for my students, and then they both require in-depth discussion uh, as individuals on a specific topic and as a group on a general problem. And then how can we combine them? So this is where I struggled, was to just really get them to work together. So we can definitely utilize the group and individual responsibility aspect of the roundtable. And then we want to pair that with this idea of the roles now becoming expertise roles on specific ideas. So, what does that look like in action? What even is this? Because it's kind of vague. But the Jigsaw Roundtable takes a group, they come together, they have a list of specializations that they will be focused on for a problem, and they will have a problem. They will discuss the problem in context, developing a general understanding, and divvy out the roles for expertise. These will be properties that are needed to understand to solve, theorems, or specific algebraic ideas that are needed to solve the problem. So they will then break up into the expertise groups around these ideas. They will discuss together uh, using the text and each other. They will develop a deep understanding of the specific concept and then make very, very detailed notes and engage in a deep dive conversation with each other in which they try and find out all the possibilities of use. And then they take that information that they gathered back to the roundtable, and then they quote unquote share out in a teaching manner, explaining their their general idea, not their expertise on it, but their general idea, putting into words what they discovered. And then the group will utilize each individual person's expertise on the topic to come up with a strategy together that they can use on the problem. Then we go into a solo section in which each person individually, using the strategy that the group developed, solves the problem. And then they all meet back up and discuss their solutions. And if there's any differences, they would then discuss where and why these differences occurred. So some philosophies that I believe are supported by this Jigsaw Roundtable mashup is that literacy is developed through critical thinking, and I believe that discussions will get my students thinking critically in a way that gets them able to put to words the mathematical understanding. So it helps them move in between the mathematics and the language. And it creates a bridge to take math and put it into words and take words and put it into math. I think it's very important to have that in a math classroom. It also shows the importance of collaborative work and relying on each other, because there's this sense of personal responsibility and group responsibility. And when these roles are fulfilled by everyone, it builds a sense of community and trust around education and an interconnectability with everyone. So everyone feels like they can rely on each other in a classroom, which When you can rely on people, you feel safe and open to exploration. So that's why I think this specifically is a really good strategy, and I can't wait to use it in a classroom. This is my resource, and I appreciate you. Have a wonderful rest of your summer.